You know what they say about conspiracy theories, Joe?
That they're all rooted in some truth.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the Coast to Coast Traders Podcast. I'm Robbie.
I'm Joe. What's up, man?
Joe,
How
how's
you
it going,
doing?
man?
Oh, I'm doing okay, bro. I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm kind of going through it right now a little bit. Kind of experiencing some doubts and a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I kind of thought this was going to be my Nike year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just on the upswing. So what's going on, dude? Like, what's making you feel like an imposter? Because I've seen plenty of your trades. I've seen great entries and all that stuff. So what's going on?
I think it's probably butchering some of this, but like Ryan Holiday's ego is the enemy.
Hmm.
That that ego ambition, I think it's like kind of the cart before the horse, and I just feel like I should be seeing better results um at my current stage right now. And so like the negative part of my brain and like that emotion is just kind of like really egging at me, just kind of like giving those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
You should quit. You're wasting your time and like this and that. So it's just been a little bit tough.
Yeah, do you think that those emotions are like are they rooted in the outcome, or are they rooted in the fact that like you can't seem to find edge? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and yeah, they're rooted in the outcome for sure because I know I have edge for sure, and if I'm giving it the Ray Dalio approach, then it's what is true, and what's true is that I have improved tremendously over the year. Absolutely,
Yeah.
I definitely can describe my trading style without really any hesitation. I can identify chart setups, and so there is just that push that is like sometimes when maybe well I don't know, it happens to me perhaps more than other people, but like when you have an idea you want to convey
Mhm.
and the idea is like in your head coming out faster than you can produce the words in your mouth, so maybe
True.
like you stumble the wording a little bit. If I think I just want it faster than I am currently capable of achieving, and so the ambition, the ego, the greed, maybe is is something that I need to tame, so that way I can just let the process unfold better.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you feel impatient?
Sometimes I do, yeah, and it's like sometimes it's like a little like a baby tilt where I might have a good setup, or even if like the first trade wasn't necessarily bad or wasn't necessarily good, like I could have one or the other, but then the next trade will be something might happen, and then it's like, oh, I bottom tick to stop, and then it's like SOB, and then I do the stupid thing where it's like I rebuy the previous entry rather than wait for it to come back down a little bit lower, so that way I could still have a similar risk, but it's outside of what I was, or outside the current price action or something to that effect.
And it comes back against you hard and you get slapped.
Yeah, and then it's like a bottom tick again. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just I have been going through it recently, and it's just like I know I can do it, uh,
For sure.
and I have done it. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing too. It's like it wasn't luck. It's just I'm kind of like I'm in my own head,
Yeah, dude,
and
I know I feel you, dude. Spend a lot of time being like, and it's gonna be hard to get out of. So
Mhm.
systemically, right? Process driven approach. Anything in particular that you can think about, or you're gonna know you're trading better than anybody else. And you share most of your trades with me.
Yeah.
You know, obviously guys like we podcast together, but Robbie and I, talk daily. Discord just put out the like kind of like the yearly wrapped like Spotify, and
Yeah.
Robbie and I came up as each other's BFFs. No no surprise there. Um so I see a lot of your trades, and like I don't want to comment
Mhm.
them on them because like, you know, and what's going
Yeah.
on with them, and what do you think you can do differently? Like what, like if you could make a change for Monday, what do you want to change?
I really have to commit to myself to let certain candles close, because there will be times when opportunity does present itself within the first minute or two, and like it's obvious because the price is closing exactly how I'd want.
Hmm.
And then there's other times where it's like, okay, we do get big swings, but then there's pullbacks and it starts to chop a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's so close to closing exactly how I want, but it doesn't. And then when I don't let that happen and then I just take it before it actually gives me the closure that I want, that's when I get myself into trouble. So it's, I mean, it really just comes down to me actually waiting for the confirmation to present itself and then choosing quality for sure. That's like the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah. So waiting for candle close confirmation.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I mean, that's a great place to start, right? You know, you've outlined some really fire setups over the last year. You said you said it yourself, right? You recognize that you've made a lot of progress over the last year. Includes identifying those great setups. But I also know too, like if I may, from like an outsider's perspective, I know you're kind of like stuck with a little bit of a time constraint in the morning. And
Yeah.
do you think you have some self-imposed impatience by like having your certain window of time to trade that like you maybe like have a little bit of like FOMO impatience? Like I don't want to miss out on something that's potentially
Yeah.
good, you know?
I think that is a big possibility, especially because by the time I sort of need to leave the desk is when the orb sets.
Mm,
And so that is often when there's like the next potential leg of things going on.
for sure.
And I've definitely just seen that too. So that definitely could be playing a subconscious role because typically, by 7 o'clock market time, that's usually when I would be getting in the shower. Sometimes I'll push it off, 5, 10 minutes. But like if I get in on the shower like on time, then I come back, it's like, if you would have just sat there for 5 more minutes, that was the perfect setup.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Yep.
Or similarly, then when I get to the office by like 8 o'clock, I could be sitting down. And actually, recently, I haven't even been loading the charts at the office for like the past maybe week and a half. I've sort of been content to only trade before I get to the office.
Gotcha.
And in a lot of ways, I really do appreciate that because it's so easy to get sucked into the charts. And like if I'm not really actively trading, I just kind of feel like I'm spinning the wheels for no reason.
Yep.
So I like I've appreciated anyway, not feeling glued to the charts, not feeling the need to like kind of look. I feel like every minute,
Hmm.
and like almost be addicted to it,
Yeah.
and I can go for almost the majority of my working day anyway, not looking at it and feeling like, yeah, all right, if I see it, if I see somebody post a chart in chat, that's cool. That's like that gives me a good enough update, but I'm not seeking to like go find it myself.
Yeah.
And then going back to like that imposter stuff, like talking down to myself doesn't help.
No.
Um, and you're probably familiar with Steve Perry, a little guy, a little famous singer from the band Journey.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He wrote a great song about day trading. It says be good to yourself.
Yeah,
One
that's
of my
true.
favorite songs.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true, man. I'm like I have to be one of the best people at self criticism. Like it is an exceptional talent of mine. Crap on my. I am very skilled and proficient at it.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah, it's easy for us to beat ourselves up.
for sure, trading is that thing though, man. Like where you really get to know a whole lot about yourself. And when you really conquer and master yourself, it starts to everything really starts to click. And I think I have personally found a lot of similarities with that with gym too. You know, like having that mastering that self discipline and self control of going to the gym and eating correctly and lifting hard and giving it your all, and like then just seeing over time, like you're not going to see that, if you work out hard for a week and eat well for 2 weeks, you might see an inkling of progress, but most of the time you don't. And it's like, you got to give it a
Yeah.
few months. And kind of the same way, man, like if you're just trying to mash the gas, like too hard to just try to get funded or try to hit the payouts or whatever, it's so easy to just essentially, you are in the gym, it's how you end up with a gym injury and it sets you back, right? Like you just get to the gym and
Yeah, for real.
you're trying to bench 225 and like, okay, I want to bench 225 next week. Yeah, but you just did 135 for 2. Like, dude, it's that's a long ways off. Got to build up to it.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually had a story like that when one of the first times I took fitness seriously. This was before the 75 hard, like this is a long time ago. I was doing P90X, and it was just before Christmas, and like I was doing the routine,
Mhm.
and I hurt myself, and like an idiot, instead of stopping, I just kept powering through. And guess what? It put me out for the month. And then
Been
what
there.
happened after that? I didn't pick it back up.
Yeah, dude. I've been there. I've definitely
Yeah.
pushed too hard before and got little setbacks. Yeah. And trading's the
Yeah.
same way, dude. Like you try to push too hard, and I was talking about this a little bit on Friday with, with the group. Like I was trying to push too hard, too fast, just trying to follow somebody else's lead and letting their comments get into my head. And I just end up spending a whole lot more money on eval fees than I need. Getting a whole lot of mental anguish that I don't really need, trying to do something I wasn't ready to do. So kind of feel like, man,
Yeah.
like you got a good system. You know what you're looking for. You know high probability setups, and a lot of times when you nail those entries, like your win rate is really high when you get that entry that you want.
Right.
It's
Hmm.
if you can stick to that and eliminate the chasing, dude, you're gonna solve a big part of the problem, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, that last trade I took on Friday,
Mm.
I couldn't, I quite literally couldn't have asked for a better entry,
Right.
and like, even though it was smaller size, I was able to scale it in a way where it's like the runner was 100 points. And even on just the one micro runner, like I took the core, which was three at like 15 or 20.
Hmm.
And then I took the second one for like 70. And then the last one, it was over 100 for just a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic trade, honestly. Repeatable and everything. And of
Yeah, for
course,
sure.
in typical fashion, we had a very similar trade. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like
That was great.
I took basically like a very similar trade, did almost the same thing, and I don't think I took the 100. I think I ended up getting out for like 80 something. Fine, but only on the one micro, but it was still like, I mean, it's a damn good trade. Like I was like, ah, hey, it's great. And then of course, like to be completely honest, dude, like I didn't do well on that stop out. Like it wasn't the best. And then when I saw the market continue to go higher, I was like, damn, Joe, you kind of botched that. That's a learning opportunity. But
Yeah. I did look a little bit later in the day to see how things progressed after that. And it's like, yeah, I guess that was the round two area.
mm, yep.
But we had news coming up too. So that was another reason to be more a little bit cautious on the stop out too.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And
But
that's where I got stopped was on that news candle. Like I moved my stop up and I was like, oh well, I'm up. I'll let it go. And it when it popped up through the orb and it was like you could see the orders were processing so fast because the candle was just moving so fast, and then like it started to
mhm,
come back down. I was like, yeah, I should just get out of this. But and it did too. Like it came back down, but then when that candle closed back up, and I was like, oh man, even on the 2 minute, the sellers can't take control here. I, you
yeah.
know, I didn't want to jump into re-entering into another trade because I was like, well, I just took that stop, and that in the past, the quick re-entries, oftentimes is driven by clouded judgment. Right? So I was like, okay, like,
Yeah.
let the boiling water settle out so I can see clearly. And all
Hmm.
right. And then, of course, like by the time, another 3 to 5 minutes passes, I was like, but it's okay. Like, cause, there's more trades, right?
Yeah, for sure. But that's the tricky thing with the 84% rule
Mhm.
is like, is it really valid to retake it? Or is it just because, like, if you had never been stopped out, like, you would have been okay, sort of thing. And
Right.
then, like, is your judgment still like hyped up on the fact that it's now starting to work? And but now you have to like rein yourself in to say, okay, I can potentially retake this, but I still have to be deliberate with my entry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough
But
call.
dude, your sweater is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Look
Did
at
you have
this.
that last year? Is this
This is
new?
new. No, no, no. I've had this
Okay, that's so cool, man.
got a
Nice,
I got a
nice.
whole
I
lot of
love it.
Christmas attire, so I've been trying to. I work today, so I'm gonna try to like make it, wear a different thing every day. I got like a Home Alone T-shirt for tomorrow. That stuff. Very festive.
Oh, that's cool. Right on.
Yep. I'll try to wear a different one next we lead into Christmas.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, I would say that probably kind of concludes what I have to like share about that particular topic.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
important though that we revisit that like in the coming weeks. Like just even if it's a quick update, man, like let everybody
mhm.
know, how you're doing, how you're feeling emotionally, and how, just focusing on the process led to trading week. Because it probably is going to be a little bit more difficult as we get into Christmas, right? Like lower volume time period,
Right.
ranges will be tightening up and all that stuff. And VIX is dropping off, as we get to maybe a Santa melt up or whatever. But um,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually already even thinking about whether I would even trade after Christmas.
okay.
I'm considering like if I might take a week off or like pick it up after the new year or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. New
We'll
Year's.
see. I guess I'll just have to. Do my best to see, what I can discern from the market. What the price action is telling me on
Mm.
those days. I'm still going to show up, I think, but I don't know that I'll. I'm open to the idea of just letting those days pass me by. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
The only thing that's tough about that is if you're with any of these prop firms, you have to take one trade every like 7 days. Most of the prop firms, that
Yeah.
is,
That's a good point that you're bringing up because there might be some people in the same mindset. So you might need to flip a micro.
yeah.
Well, every week or something like that.
Yes, and the key thing for many of these prop firms is it's that you need to trade every account. So, you know, honestly, it's probably best to just like put them on a copy trade and be like, yeah, I'm gonna put a micro, like a micro ES type of I'm targeting 1 point or micro targeting like 3 points or something like that or whatever, and just like, let it go and whatever happens happens, and just say, all right, I'm just trying to flip the day to stay active because you don't want to end up with like that's a horrible way to ring in the new year. Like,
Yeah.
oh, my accounts got closed because I took time off, and
Right.
not every
Hmm.
firm will honor that. Like, hey, I need to take time off. Like, I'm doing something. So
Right. So check the FAQ or just message their support just to get that solid confirmation. Even if you do see something on the website, just ask. Doesn't hurt to ask a human or the AI robot. See if you can get press type agent or whatever to try to sneak by,
yep,
talk to somebody.
yeah,
Yeah, for
exactly,
sure. That'd be awful.
exactly. So with that though, we are doing our 500 sub giveaway. And we are
Yep.
inching our way closer. I think we're in like the high 460s, 468.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Getting pretty close. It is possible, that we could sneak this in under the new year, but we gotta have those numbers come in.
yeah.
Um And we are looking at doing an interview with MapleStax in the near future. Like it was possibly going to happen this week, but he's a little bit busy right now, so some
Mm,
things didn't quite work out. But it's going to happen soon.
hell yeah. I'm looking forward to it for
Yeah.
sure. And I think that'll be a great one. We'll have him on. These are rookie numbers, guys. We're under 500. You got to help us pump it up. So free, it's free and it's easy. Just click the subscribe button, click the like button. Throw us a comment, help us out. So help us grow this channel and more giveaways.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys have experienced imposter syndrome or like having any self doubts, let us know in the comments because everybody at some point in their trading career and you know probably any career really doubts himself.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you're not the only one to experience it. You're not the first one, obviously. We all pretty much experience the same things. Some aspects affect one person different than the other, but it's kind of all the same bowl of soup.
Yeah.
It's the same recipe.
Totally, totally, dude.
Yeah.
And with that too, if you guys aren't already using prop firms and you want to check them out, we got our discount code there, coast to coast below, for 35% off Lucid, 40% off of trade day, and 20% off funded ticks. Um, funding ticks, funded funding. So
Yeah, yeah,
check
yeah.
them out. Check them out. You know what? Actually, speaking of Maple, dude, Maple actually had a great way of describing the concept of trading with props versus trading your own account. And he just kind of said, like, when you trade a prop firm, it's like trading with insurance. Your risk is capped. You know exactly what you're risking. Yeah, there's a little bit more with the rules, and you got a 1099 versus the 64 split on futures and all that stuff. But your risk is totally capped, and it's a lot like having full coverage on a brand new car. Driving down the
Yeah.
road, and if something happens, you're good. Versus having a brand new car with no insurance whatsoever. Like, it could really be a major blow if something. So I like that. I thought that was a good way of explaining, why a lot of people trade with prop firms. There's a lot more that goes into it, which we've talked about before, but that was a quick analogy.
Yeah, for sure. Cause like I could totally see that. Like somebody really gung ho about trading, they open up their fresh new account
Mm-hmm.
because they saw this person on X, YouTube or whatever. They're like, oh, they say this one thing every day, and they're always banging putting out these big numbers. So I can do it, and they get that fresh new account, whatever number it is, doesn't matter. And then just like that, they lose quite a big chunk of it.
Yeah, just like that, it's over.
Hmm.
So, um, all right, man. So let's talk about this crazy kind of conspiracy theory wonky thing going on with gold and silver. Um, First things first. I think we definitely owe it to just cover quickly this this chart, right? So we got gold on the left, like still going crazy with this is the yearly candle, dude, up from 2600 to 4200, absolutely crazy, right? But then we got silver on the right, dude. So shout out to all of you 1980 bag holders. After 45 years, you are finally green. You are
Oh man.
finally green. Somebody's out there still holding, dude. You know it. You know it.
I mean, there's a chance. It's just that it's cringeworthy to think about having bought and then like say they never ever average it down. you
Yeah,
know?
I would hope that,
Oh
honestly, I
man.
would hope if you held this long, if you held for 13 years, just to this point
Hmm.
to hit the lows down 93% on your trade, I would hope you were throwing some more money in there to try to bring your average down, which more than likely you were out somewhere on this pop, right? So if you did average
But what's
down,
the probability, Joe? Somebody top ticked it in the 80s, and they're like, ah, okay, and, and then in like the tens, they top tick it again.
oh,
They never
dude.
averaged down.
Oh, dude, I know, right? Imagine that you were on this wild volatility ride. Which this is crazy too, dude. Like, if you bought down here, you're up 1,300%, and then it
Hmm.
falls and at its peak another 76%, and now from here you up another 400%. That's wild,
Yeah, silver is so much more wild than gold
right?
in that regard,
Right, and even this was a steep drop, dude. This 78.5%. That was a crazy
right?
drop, but
Hmm.
that's a crazy drop over about 5 years, and then in the next
At least it held
5
the high
years,
though.
yeah. At least it did hold this high, yeah. This is
Yeah.
this is the same year.
Hmm.
Gold was actually, I mean, consolidated for a long time and then started to break out in the early 2000s, following the dot-com bubble crash. And then, boy, '08, '09 really started to take off,
Yeah.
the housing crisis. So, but it's crazy now because it's taken off like big time. And then, so now here's where the conspiracy theories, right, are starting to really pile in, right? So,
Yeah.
you sent this to me. You're more well versed on this than I am. So why don't you talk us through kind of how this kicked off?
Okay, so Thanksgiving, everybody should be spending time with their families, eating great meals and having a good time.
Having some pie.
But then there's the yeah, having some pie. And then there's the degenerates out there that are just itching to take that next trade and they're losing their minds because for the first time in a really, really long time, the market is actually down. Not just like one instrument halted, like it's down. And so this post, I'm not even gonna dare to pronounce this person's name. You know who you are.
Tanaka.
but yeah, so no cyber attack. He says, well, so this is the excuse, the formal excuse. Well, maybe excuse the excuse is what I'm saying, but this is the formal report that's been delivered by the CME is that they had an overheating situation, and that's why. And so this person is saying, so he's basically saying, like, think about it. You know, the cooling system failed, and I, I don't know, man. I'm not in the hardware technical space, but I've built computers and I've seen data center walkthroughs and this kind of stuff. And the compute in my head is it's like the way these systems are usually built is you have like one one rack of computers that has like all the processing powers, like literally the CPUs and the memory, and then you have other systems that have just the data. And because networking is so fast, you can get away with segregating your system to that effect.
Okay.
And then on top of that, you have GPU type of loads doing other stuff like the AI inference and whatever.
Okay.
And I don't I don't know that the cooling, like, I mean, I would love to have somebody correct me that has access or experience to these specific types of systems that deal with the stock market. But I just don't feel like the compute from crunching the numbers of all the trades coming in and out would be that high. And then on top of that, if you can switch over to the next person,
Kristen, we're not going to attempt your last name. You know who you are?
Shaughnessy, that's an easy one, bro. Uh,
No, you get, dude. Why'd you make it sound so easy, dude? It looks intimidating. Shogness,
Sahaga, Sahagana.
Shahogany.
Yeah, so like she's saying that it's possible because of a silver thing, but actually the other interesting one is the next slide I think was, where was it?
One on
It was the
gold.
one where it was saying that only, okay, so Cyrus won.
Yeah.
So the official story gets stranger by the hour. If the outage was truly a cooling issue, we'd see it across multiple Cyrus One clients, not only on CME's matching engine during a vertical move. And so that is like that's like, dude, wait, what? Hello?
Right. So let's pause right here. Right. So by vertical move, I think we're talking about which
The silver breaking out.
talking about this one, this vertical move.
Um, well, no, that like this was. I think it was primarily actually the response to that post. I think if you scroll down, it might be.
Yeah. Silver was ready to launch.
Mm,
Right. I think
yeah.
that's right here. And
Hmm.
suddenly the CME goes down. Right. And spot silver
Hmm.
nukes a dollar in minutes. Right. Which for what we're talking about here, that is a big drop, right? Versus like how what silver is at.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I haven't been trading long enough to experience any significant outage in the market, and I didn't actually think to go back to check when that last was, but I thought I heard somewhere was like we had something similar happen in like 16 or something.
Okay.
So certainly these occasions are really rare, of course, but these stories coming out with like, oh yeah, I mean it would make sense that somebody borrowing a lot of money or short on gold might want to do some backroom deal with
Hmm.
somebody, and like blame it on the system hardware,
Right.
and we can kind of sweep this under the rug. Just like it's one of those conspiracy theories that makes me think I think there could be some credibility to this.
Sure. You know what? Too tough part with all these conspiracy theories, like I said earlier, rooted in.
Mm.
You look at over the years, all of the conspiracy theories that we've had, like let's say the major ones in society.
MK Ultra, Operation Northwoods, Operation Mockingbird, Tuskegee Experiment,
And
Poisoning St. Louis.
dude, like I didn't even think of half of those except for Tuskegee and JFK. Dude, like,
Yeah. Well, how about some recent ones? The coronavirus out of China and okay, I won't get in
yeah,
the
yeah,
weeds that
yeah.
much, but
You know, that one might be a little bit more topic. And
flat Earth, Joe.
oh, here we go.
Come
Now
on,
we done it.
bro.
Next up, we got the blue lasers in Hawaii. Here we go. Um,
Yep.
but like for real though, right? I mean, like I think the best one is JFK, right? The conspiracy theorists had that one nailed for decades, and then lo and behold, yup, it was the CIA. You know, it comes out and it's kind of just like a blip because everyone's like, yeah, we knew that. You know, so it's tough
But was it
because
over him wanting to bring back the gold standard?
here we go, and we're tying it right back into gold,
And we're
huh?
talking about gold and silver
Talking
again.
about gold and silver. We're talking about the precious metals, and it's wild because you know, a lot of folks really believe that the markets as a whole are heavily manipulated. Um,
Yeah.
and we see from time to time we see evidence of that, you know.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure that people would try to even say that it's happened already several other times this year, right? Look at the quote, now's a good time to buy. That was the bottom of the year.
Hmm.
You know, so this is sketchy, man. Like the big thing, and I just want to go back to like here it is. Like this is tough to read, but that makes due to a cooling issue at Cyrus One centers, our markets are currently halted. Support is working to resolve the issue, right? But again,
Hmm.
it's not impacting any other client of Cyrus One.
Yeah.
So, like, how is that? Like, anybody who's watching, if you got the answer to that, like, please share. But you know,
So
even
here's the thing. A lot of the data centers are on like a shared cooling loop. So like the systems are water cooled.
okay,
And so there could be some type of isolation on a per cage basis.
yep,
Or it could even be like, even though they're water cooled, there are still fans in the system. So maybe some of the fans and some of the cages. But then it's like these systems should be redundant, very redundant.
right,
And then for like everything to fail, cascading,
right.
I don't know, man. It still just doesn't add up for me. Like I feel like there's got to be more to it, and we're probably never gonna know the truth.
Facts, dude. Facts. That's is highly suspicious. Highly suspicious.
Yeah, and it kind of does make sense to try to do it on a day when most people wouldn't be trading.
Right. Right. So if we get into, I'm sorry, I can't. So this link here, right? This guy, Just Dario, is saying the CME halts the futures trading for the whole night and only resumes at the exact moment that banks borrow $24.4 billion of liquidity from the Fed, standing repo on a half day of trading. And not a month, must be November month, Friday. Too many coincidences piling up, right? So you get the end of the month and they're borrowing all this liquidity. Looks suspicious.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you guys
yeah,
make
for
of it
sure,
for the
dude.
viewers? What do you guys make of this? Because I'm not sure how to make heads or tails of it. To be honest.
Yeah, I don't know, but can you pull up the last one with the exchange for physical from the silver trade guy?
Yeah, right here. So
Yeah.
did COMEX stop an imminent systemic silver default on Thanksgiving Day / night by negotiating a private $65 million cash settlement? 6,860 silver longs to roll to the March contract instead.
Yeah. So like this is wild, and it is still very much outside of my wheelhouse of understanding, but like I know a little bit about this. So like if you have these contracts, well, first of all, there's there's what you have like on hand and then what you have on paper that's available when it comes to like the physical goods. And at some point in order to settle the futures contracts, like for instance, there was that guy that bet heavily on uh eggs. And I don't know if you saw that post. We might have even covered it in a previous podcast, but he's like, he went crazy thinking about the bird flu or something like that.
Yes.
And then he had these egg contracts or something. He's like, what am I going to do with like a million eggs? And no, don't tell me that you'll take some and I'm not going to ship them to you or whatever.
Yeah.
So like at some point these contracts get exercised and then you have to physically deliver the goods. So if you're short, well, you have to come up with the silver to repay. And if you're long, you can exercise and you can claim that you know that you want the physical goods. So um, lower down where he says the zero EFP volume on the final report stands as the ultimate dog that didn't bark, proof that the deal was entirely off the books and subject to strict non-disclosure. So what that says basically is that they did a closed room deal where they took physical delivery in person so that way they can satisfy the contract being fulfilled rather than like the cash outright, I guess, and keeping it on the market ticker. Like it's still outside like I'm still like trying to get it, but like I understand it enough to be like, yeah, it makes sense to me. So because they can do that physical exchange off the books, it's not going to show up on the chart and the volume specifically.
Right. Protecting their own physical silver or their customers from withdrawals.
Mhm.
A lot of physical. Very interesting.
Yeah. So the thing is that people are saying, well, not people, but like the theory behind this, like the continuation, is that this is only going to kick the can down the road,
Right.
and come March, it still has to be satisfied in some way.
Yep.
So there could potentially be a silver short squeeze. Not financial advice. Don't buy silver. You will lose money. Don't do it. Don't buy anything that we talk about, except our affiliate codes. For prop firms, of course. But
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, it's just I think it's going to get really interesting. And if we do see a squeeze on that, then I think this would add validity to this claim.
Damn. We're gonna have to keep tabs on this thing too, dude, because like going back to, if I may, going back to the gold chart, right?
Mhm.
And switch back to this. Going back to this gold chart, we were talking about this, and we had done some drawings. We were looking at like the weekly chart. We were looking at it here,
Mhm.
and honestly, this thing came down and like basically held the weekly 9 EMA and just kind of glided along it, and here we are, like basically this is the highest weekly close right there, and we're barely wicked over it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we're gonna get a cupping handle set up here.
I was just about to go to the daily and see. So what actually what I saw is validity there is to it. I'm sure somebody will challenge this, and that's totally fine. But if you look at it from a slanted perspective, there's your cup, there's your hand moved over it based on the side of it. This is what I but
Yeah.
but sellers failed to actually.
Yeah. And then we also have high probability of a rate cut coming.
Yep.
We had the jobs report come in this week, and so the market is reacting on that news, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that rate cut will be this week. OMC is Wednesday. for Christmas.
So Santa rally, here we come, right?
Yeah, probably. This was interesting though too, man. Right? Is like this was a huge spill off, very very quick,
Mhm.
40 minutes of very violent selling. Right?
Yeah.
But it
Hmm.
reaches like a capitulation. Like look at this volume. Look at this
Yeah.
volume on this candle here. Like that's
Hmm.
that's stopping volume, man. That's them stepping in, sure. Right? That'd be an Anna
It,
Cooling special, don't you think?
it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Then it, then it goes up, and then it just does trail back down a little bit more. Closes right here, and
Yeah.
we're gonna see, man. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks.
Yep, for sure.
Gold just
Mhm.
doesn't it look like there's a contract missing? And like, why is
It
the
does. Yeah.
why is it like that? See how it does? Like it's like there's two contracts length here, and then short, 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 and then like two again.
Yeah. No clue. I've actually. I don't know if I've ever noticed that before. I don't
Does it?
usually. I mean, I have those drawings, but that's interesting. Yeah.
It looks like it's every year from July to November. July to November.
Hmm.
The November.
Okay.
So we got this contract is up at the January. Go back to the silver chart. Silver chart appears August. Just rolled.
Okay.
Right. All of this that we're talking about happened right after the silver rolled out.
Yeah.
Here's the day silver broke out. Right. Hey, silver. Yikes, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of the lesson I think should be to consider in the future anytime you hear stimulus, you probably want to consider your positions and maybe adding something to hedge against inflation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Launched, bro. All right. Well,
And
yes, sir.
yeah, uh, let's call out on that one, huh, bud?
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds very good. Reminder
Okay.
about the giveaway. Reminder to subscribe. And
And we'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate you guys.
all right, guys. See you later.